Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Market to Mealtime Spring Edition. We're thrilled to be back with Razan in her kitchen to learn about healthy ideas on what to do with seasonal spring produce you get from the local farmers market or your favorite place to shop. It's still a bit early for fresh produce from your home garden. Our presenter today is Howard County Ed's educator, Razan Sahuri. Razan works at the University of Maryland Extension. She is Howard County's Maryland SNAP Ed nutrition educator. Razan holds a bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics and a master's degree in public health. Through her work with the University of Maryland Extension, Razan partners with Howard County Public School System, Head Start Centers, and the Howard County Food Bank to deliver nutrition education to students, parents, and teachers. These collaborations also include leveraging resources between Maryland SNAP Ed and local community agencies to facilitate greater access to and availability of healthy food options and influence the adoption of policy, systems, and physical environment changes related to a healthier lifestyle. We're so glad you're here, and we are going to turn it over to Razan to get us started.
So thank you again for having me. I'm super excited. So today, as you mentioned, we're going to talk about what's in season, our trip to the farmer's market in the spring. I hope you can see my screen and everything is okay, correct? Is that okay? Okay. So today, briefly, what we're going to talk about, sorry, for some reason, my screen got darker. Okay. We're going to talk about the farmer's markets that we have in the county. And then if you have any benefits, how to use them at those markets. We're going to talk about what's in season. And finally, I'm going to show you 4 super easy recipes. Hopefully we'll get to finish all of that in half an hour. So with that, let me get started. So this list that you see over here it's a list of the farmers markets that are available in our county, and it's through the Howard County Economic Development Authority. That's where I got the list. So it looks like this year there's a little bit more farmers markets than last year. Usually the market season starts in May for us in Howard County, and it continues through November. If you look at the Clarksville Commons Farmers Market, it says that it participates in the Maryland Money Market program. So keep that in mind. I'm going to mention a couple of things about it in a bit. So when we talk about benefits, there are different kinds of benefits out there. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview if you receive any of those benefits, just so you know what to expect at the market. So if you use any of these benefits when you're shopping, know that not all markets are the same. So there's no one way to deal with how to use your benefits. So what the best thing for you to do is to check with your market manager before you shop, and they will guide you on what to do with those benefits. So for example, the women, infant, and children benefits, the WIC one, or the senior fruit and vegetable checks that are written here as FVC, and the farmer market nutrition program, the FMNP, they're all mouthful checks, are paid directly to the farmer at each market stall. So if you're buying produce, let's say with your WIC checks, make sure you bring your WIC money, your WIC check, your WIC wallet, and you can go and shop directly towards your farmer. The EBT, which is short for Electronic Benefits Transfer, they are usually paid to the market manager, not to the farmer, in exchange for dollar tokens. So basically, you give them your benefits, they give you the token, and then and the good thing about those, they do not expire in one season. So if you don't finish all that money during that particular visit, you can keep it until the end of the season. So and then you can use it. So if you don't spend it, don't worry about it. Some farmers now accept ABT. So this is relatively new in their stalls. So they use something like a credit card swiping machine that they use on their phone. So, but before you shop, make sure you ask, because sometimes they say that they have it, but then the machine is not working or something like that. So just to make things easier on you, ask before you shop. And then there are some farmers markets in Maryland that participate in incentive programs, which can match the amount of food supplement dollars that you spend up to a certain dollar amount. So for example, if you're planning to spend $5 of your EBT benefits that day, the market might be able to match another 5, so you get a total of $10 to spend. So that would be basically doubling your money to spend it on fruits and vegetables. But again, ask your farmers, the market manager about that before shopping. Now that we have the technical parts out of the way, let's talk about what's in season. So those are they're not the only ones that are in season, but they're the most popular ones or the most famous ones. So we have the leafy greens, think about spinach, kale, lettuce, Swiss chard, things that we get in the spring, and then we get them again in the fall. And then we have our spring vegetables that are the delicate vegetables. Think about herbs, garlic, onion, spring onions that are also known as scallions. And then we have beets, and then some berries. We start getting them towards the end of the spring, such as strawberries, berries and strawberries. Let's dig more into details about a couple of those fruits and vegetables. So we're going to start with leafy greens. Leafy greens, again, like I mentioned, think of kale, collard greens, lettuces, different kinds of lettuces, Swiss chard, again, different kinds of Swiss chard, cabbage, endive, radicchio, all of those greens. The best for the optimal quality, the best thing to do is to refrigerate them in sealed containers, or you can wrap them in wet paper towel and then put them in a closed plastic bag and use it within 1 week. That's the best, the best time to actually use their optimum flavor, benefits as well. And the nice thing about greens, they're so easy to add to your food. So they can either be the star, the showstopper of your meal, or they can you can sneak them in. You can add them to pastas, rice, soups, stews, and you can add them to your sauces. If you blend them, you can add them to your sauces. You can add them to your smoothies. You can add them to your eggs, your potatoes for breakfast. So it's so easy to just, think of whatever you want to make and just add that, whatever greens you have available. And why we like to do that, it's because greens are nutrient dense. So they're rich in vitamin C and vitamin K and calcium. They're also rich in fiber, so they keep you full longer, and it's good for your digestion. So all in all, they're, a good vegetable to consume. Then the second vegetables that we're talking about, they're the first vegetables that are harvested in the spring. Think of herbs, because they're super delicate, onions and garlic. So all of these are called aromatic vegetables because of their fragrant smell and flavor. So they add excellent flavor without needing to add salt or fat. So they can, be used in your kitchen in so many different ways to add flavor, to boost flavor, while still managing not to add fat or salt. The great thing, so when we talk about herbs, think about parsley, thyme, oregano, basil, rosemary, dill. I don't know if there's any that you can think about, sage. And at this point, we can have them fresh, so because they're available. But then it's also a great time to stock up on them and dry them for later. So you can dry them for, the other months. And the nice thing about dried herbs, it's the same. You can use them just as you use your fresh, but you can use only half the quantity. You should use, or not you should, but I mean, you can use half the quantity for the same flavor, because when they're dehydrated and they lose that water, their flavor gets a little bit stronger. And then another thing that you can do is also freeze them. So you can freeze them in your ice cubes. You can either add oil to that, or if you want it lighter, you can add water and just freeze them in the ice cube tray. And when you're cooking, all you have to do is just pop one out and put it in your pot. And it will give you the same flavor like when they're fresh. And then herbs, they're more delicate than greens. So usually after you pick them, they're more, they can stay as fresh only for a couple of days. So if you're not using them for, within those couple of days, think of those other routes, either freeze them or dry them. So, you can use them anytime you want. And then, as I mentioned, again, the nice thing about all of these aromatics, they add a lot of flavor without adding, without you needing to add salt or fat, because unfortunately salt and fat, do add they enrich the flavor of whatever dish you're making. So sometimes, especially if you're trying to cut on these, if you remove them, you might feel that your food is bland. So herbs will help with that. Garlic and onions, usually you don't need to store them in the refrigerator. You can just store them in a dry, cool place and consume them within 2 weeks. I know sometimes, they can live way longer, but for optimal flavor and shelf life, that's the recommendation, but you're free to leave them for longer. And then green onions, it's recommended that you put them in the refrigerator and use within a week. What I personally do is I immerse them in water. So I think of them as a plant or as flowers, and I keep adding water, so that prolongs their shelf life. And the nice thing about all of these, they can be used as a base for our cooking. So let's say, you're making stew or soup, or you're sauteing vegetables. You can use, garlic, herbs, onions as a base. So it's so easy to make that. Another easy way to do is just to grab your garlic bulb and put it in the oven, roast it, and then use that spread. It turns into a paste. The bulb, the small, garlic turns into a paste that you can actually spread on your bread, and you have a healthier version of garlic bread without adding the fat and the salt. So it's so easy to just add them. You can add all of herbs to your cooking. You can add it fresh to your salads. So it's so easy to experiment with herbs, garlic, and it's just that it's what you prefer and what you like and what you can tolerate, because some people don't like a lot of onions and garlic. Other people do like it, but there's no, you can experiment the way you like. Now moving to beets. Beets are very healthy. It's recommended that you store them in the refrigerator and use them within 2 weeks. You can also use their leaves. That's, their leaves are very healthy as well. You can roast them just like you roast your potatoes, let's say. And we see beets also in the fall, but you can also eat it raw in your salad. You can add some cheese to your beets and maybe some greens, and you'll have a nice salad. Some people also juice them or put them in their smoothies because they're very high in antioxidants, and they add a nice sweet flavor. And then finally, quickly, I'm going to talk about berries. Berries or strawberries, they're very delicate. So usually the best way to store them is in an open container in the fridge and consume them within a week. And it's so easy to add strawberries to anything. So you can add them to your, your pancakes in the morning or in your smoothies. You can just freeze them in the freezer and have them as a, frozen treat. So it's very easy to incorporate strawberries into our diet as, to accompany whatever we're eating, or to have it as a snack. With that, I'm going to turn on my other camera. Today, we're trying a new angle. I'm going to show you 4 recipes. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Let me see. All right. Can you see this?
Looks good.
Perfect. So let me just open the recipes. I'm going to start with fruit and spring greens salad. The nice thing about this recipe is you can get most of the ingredients by one trip to the farmer's market. So the base of this the base of this salad is any greens you have. So I'm doing 4 cups of spinach. Okay, so you start with the greens that you have. I'm using spinach, 1 cup of strawberries, washed and sliced. So again, so easy. And I just sliced them to make life easier. And if you don't have strawberries, if you have something else, you know, in the summer, if you have blueberries, you can do that, or any other produce. If you don't, and you can use even canned mandarin oranges, that works as well. And then 1/4 cup nuts, chopped. I used walnuts. You can use anything you have, and you can omit it altogether if you don't want to. And then, so that's the base of our salad. It's that easy. If you like, you can add more cheese, you can add another protein, but for the dressing, you can just bring a bowl. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Two tablespoons of oil. So basically equal parts of oil to lemon juice. 1 tablespoon of honey. And if you like it less sweet, you don't need to put 1 tablespoon. I'm just going to put less, a little bit less. And if you use the spoon after you use it with the oil, it will slip. The oil will slide actually. And then you can add salt and pepper to taste. If you have other herbs that you like to add, you can also add those. And that's it. So this is our first salad. It's so easy. I've added feta cheese to this in the past and it tasted so good. Any suggestions from your end? So this is our first, it's our fruit and spring green salad. All our recipes, you will receive a copy of those, so you don't need to take notes or anything. Our second recipe is Swiss chard wraps. And the nice thing about this recipe, again, it's super versatile. The original recipe asks for Swiss chard to be part of the filling, but instead I'm going to make the sandwiches. Instead of using a tortilla, I'm going to use the Swiss chard. So you're going to bring your Swiss chard. And when you cut your Swiss chard, usually, this is the thick part that makes it difficult. You can still eat it, but you need to cook it. So an easy way to do it is just create a triangle with your knife. And you can remove the stalk. So this needs cooking. It's very, you can use it in your stews, you can use it in any way you like. And then you can use this as your wrap for a lighter, sandwich. So we're going to keep our sandwich here, our wrap, I mean. And then you need, all right, in a bowl, 1 avocado. So I just cut it, peeled and chopped, and then use half a lemon just to, add it to it so it doesn't get dark. And then you need 1/4 of a chili, pepper washed and chopped. And if you like it more spicy, you can add more. So I'm using the chili. Oh, the camera's here. I need to learn. I was doing it the other way. And then 1 carrot washed and grated. So you can add that. Look at the colors. It's so fresh. And then 1 tomato washed and chopped. So we have the tomato washed and chopped. And then the recipe asks for half an onion. I have green onions. So usually half an onion is around 4 scallions. And you can add more again. So this is the base of the of your sandwich. And if you want to use an actual tortilla wrap, you can add your greens to this. You can shred your greens, like you can use Swiss chard or you can use spinach. So this is the base. We're going to bring our sandwich, our wrap, and we're going to add. And the nice thing about this recipe it's a great base. So you can add cheese to it. You can add tuna if you have leftover chicken, or you can just keep it fresh like this. I like to add some peanuts to it sometimes. So, and then you can roll it. It might get a little bit messy. I think I added too much. Let me remove a little bit. Yep, I added too much. So depending on how you roll it. And this can be, you know, like a lettuce wrap, kind of. Light. It's nice for, you know, like an light lunch, fresh lunch. So you can add it. I don't know if anybody has recommendations on what they would like to add. And then you have your, you know, Swiss chard wrap ready. So this is our second recipe, which is also, you know, it can be as a quick lunch. Let me just remove these. Even
Razan, can you
Yes.
make those ahead of time and keep them in the fridge? Say you wanted to prepare them for lunch to take to work?
You can, but they might get a little bit soggy. That's the only thing. They won't be as crisp. The one thing I didn't think about, sorry, I need to remove this. I need to grab the plates. Usually the plates are here. Okay. All right. I apologize for that. So now we have them ready. I want to just plate them from now. So, and another thing that you can do is you can take the filling and then just, you know, scoop it on your greens while you're at work, if that makes sense. Oops, sorry. Okay, now for our third recipe, which is the more, you know, filling recipe. It is the baked fish, and you also have that. It's called baked fish with tomatoes, greens, and mushrooms. Again, it's something that you can prepare very quickly. So you need to spray your dish. What I'm doing is I just divided the recipe into two. I baked half of it, and right now I'm preparing the other half with you. So you can spray your baking dish. You don't need to spray if you don't have, you know, spraying oil. You can just dab it with a little bit of oil. So what you're going to do is, let me grab the fish. So the recipe asks for 4 fish fillets, 4 ounce each. I'm using 2. So you're going to put them in your baking dish, okay? And you can set that aside. And in a bowl, you're going to add 1 cup fresh spinach or Swiss chard or whatever greens you have. I'm using Swiss chard. So I just chopped it and I'm going to put it right here in a bowl. 1 cup or 1 medium tomato, washed and chopped. And if you don't have tomatoes, you can use canned tomatoes. And then 1/2 cup fresh mushrooms, washed and diced. And if you don't have fresh, again, you can use canned. So this is the base. These are the veggies. You can add other veggies. And then to make life easy, you can just grab, the recipe asks for 1/3 cup of low-fat Italian dressing. You can make yours. This is half of it, so it's roughly 2 tablespoons. So you can just add your own, you know, vinegar, oil, and herbs if you don't, you know, have your, if you don't have dressing at home, but that's just to make things easier. So you're going to mix that. It smells so nice, so fresh. And then you're going to bring your fish right here and just add the veggies on top. Then you're going to bake it for roughly 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. You heat your oven to 375. You bake it. Let me grab you the one I made. This is the one that I made. It's a little bit saucy, so you can leave it a little bit longer if you like in the fridge. Over here. And then we have 2 more minutes or 1 more minute for our last dish, which is very easy. It's called strawberry s'mores. It can be used as dessert or as a snack. Kids love it. I think we've made this before together. So all you need is graham crackers, strawberry, and yogurt. And this is vanilla yogurt. So kids love this. So you'll just take a strawberry or 2, cut them. So maybe let's do 2. Get a graham cracker, cut it, divide it into half. So now you have your, sorry, I'm grabbing my spoon. Oops, sorry, I'll just use this one. So you can spread your yogurt on it. You can, kids love doing this. Of course, they can use a spoon for that to spread the yogurt. So you can put this. And then you can assemble your strawberries. Oops. And the nice thing about this, you can eat it like this, or you can just add another graham cracker to it. And you have a dessert or a snack. Super easy, super light, and it's really tasty. You can add, if you like, you can add other fruit to it. But, once you have all those strawberries, that's one thing you can do. And that's it. We've basically tried 4 different recipes at this point. So there's the baked fish with tomatoes and greens and mushrooms. There's the Swiss chard wraps, the strawberry s'mores, and then the fruit and spring green salad. Any questions?
Oh, everything looks delicious, Razan. I forgot to mention I'm Nancy Target, and I'm here with my colleague from the Miller branch, Julie Fitzpatrick. We're going to go through questions too. We also want to let you know that the links to the recipes and the handouts are on our calendar page. They're always attached to the class listings for each class, so you can even go back and look at other recipes that Razan has shared with us. Julie's also put in the chat links to other videos that she's done, and we will also post this one. And Julie, did we have any questions to go through today?
Let me go back because there were a couple. Let's see. I know there was one about the herbs, Razan. Is there anything that you shouldn't freeze?
So unless you want to use it in a fresh capacity where you want to add it to, let's say, a salad, you can freeze anything, but it will just alter the flavor if you use it raw.
And then for anyone who's not used to cooking with herbs, is there anything particular that you recommend starting with? So
if they like less flavor or less aromatic flavor, I would say use fresh and don't use a lot. Dry tend to be more pungent in flavor, but don't add a lot. So you can, start small, and then if you feel that you enjoy it, just add a little bit more. That would be the easiest thing, I feel, to do, just ease themselves to it. I feel that if you use a lot, it might be too much, but you can start small, and then if you feel you still need more, you can keep adding. It's much easier, to add than to remove. So that would be one thing to do. I personally like rosemary. Basil is nice, but I feel, like a caprese salad where basil, tomato, it's a fresh introduction to it. I also like the Italian seasoning. So what I do is in the summer, after I'm done, with all the fresh herbs, I dry them and then I mix them together. And I just use them as Italian herbs with my pastas and my sauce. That's something that's also easy, and there's not a lot of strong flavor from one particular herb. I don't know. What do you enjoy?
Oh, I love rosemary, and it's good with potatoes. It's good in salad. I mean, I'm with you there. And the caprese salad is lovely in the summer. I mean, basil's wonderful, fresh basil.
Any other questions?
And we also got a comment from Nancy, who loved the strawberry salad that you made. And she even thinks it's yummy without any dressing. So
I agree. I agree. It's so fresh. And I feel like the strawberries, they add this nice, sweet flavor to it. So it makes it so yummy.
Well, we want to thank you so much, Razan, for coming back. Inviting us back into your kitchen this spring, and we look forward to seeing you on, I think it's June 14th. Julie will correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right.
We'll be back at 11 a.m. again for a summer edition. We hope to see you there. I want to thank my colleague Julie. I want to thank you, Razan, and for all of you for joining us today in the kitchen with Razan. And Julie, if you could turn off we're ready to turn off the recording, but we'll stick around for another minute or two if you have any questions.
Perfect.